guys, auditioning for my master's at the San Francisco State University was not actually my first time auditioning for a master's program. I do want to keep the university's privacy, so I'm not going to tell you guys which university it is. I do know that there are a couple of my friends who watch these videos. I am asking that you guys respect the university's privacy and not put it in the comments below. I wasn't actually supposed to have a gap year between my bachelor's and my master's. I ended up having the gap year because I failed my first master's audition. Typically, music school auditions happen in the spring, so that way you'll find out if you've gotten into the next degree before the end of your current degree. So I was at the end of my bachelor's and I was auditioning for my master's. I was really nervous for this audition. And I think it was because I didn't take the prospect of doing a master's degree very seriously until the last minute. Obviously, I did not learn from when I first auditioned into my bachelor's. I didn't actually figure out that I wanted to even audition for the School of Music until November of my senior year in high school, my grade 12 year, which is very late because by that point you are getting into your final applications for college, and the auditions for music school again are in the spring. So the audition was really only a couple of months out from when I decided to do a bachelor's. The same thing happened for my master's. I think my self-esteem with the flute was so low that I didn't even think that there was even a possibility that I could even become a master's student. I just didn't think I was worth it. But the problem was that I didn't really know what to do with my life if I didn't go for a master's. At that point, I was just kind of teaching on the side. I was teaching on the weekends. I just did random other gigs with my woodwind quintet. As much as I wanted that woodwind quintet to continue, I knew in my heart that we were all going in different directions, so I knew that the quintet wasn't going to last. At that point, I didn't really think there was much of a future with YouTube either. I didn't really know what to do with myself, and I thought, I guess since I don't know what else to do with my life, I need to keep going to school. But the only way I could keep going to school is if I did a master's. There you go. That's why I was extremely nervous for this. I remember sitting outside the audition room just being terrified. There was this sense of doom, impending doom. All of my friends told me that they totally believed in me, that they were like, oh, you'll have no problem. Why are you so nervous? I don't know why, but I just knew that it wasn't gonna work. In my nervousness, I wasn't thinking clearly. Now, in that particular hallway, outside of the audition room, it was super cold. If you guys know anything about how metals work or just how physically how things work, when things get cold, everything contracts, everything gets closer together. Because the tubing is now just that bit smaller, that means that in proportion to the length of the tube would have basically gotten longer. Like on a panpipe, the longer the tube, the lower you play. And so when your flute gets really cold, that's why it plays really flat. So the opposite is true as well. If your flute is in an environment that is extremely warm, the metal will expand. And when the metal expands, the diameter of the tube in comparison to the length of the tube, it will make it so that the tube is shorter. Shorter tubes play higher. So that's why when your flute is really warm, it plays really sharp. Now, with that explanation in mind, I put my flute on the cold linoleum floor. But when I got in to the audition room was swelteringly hot. There's a piano in there. Obviously, the piano is already extremely sharp, right? Because it's in such a swelteringly hot room. I end up having to push my head joint in all the way in order to make it as sharp as possible. Even at that point, I could not match the piano because my flute was still cold from being outside. I end up starting my audition really flat in comparison to the piano. But very quickly, because that room was so hot and I am blowing warm air into the flute, my flute very quickly went extremely sharp, like way past the piano. This audition has gone from extremely flat to extremely sharp in basically 15 minutes. If a panel can hear that you cannot tune properly to the piano in an audition setting, there is no way in hell you are making it into that master's program. That is a basic skill that you learn in your bachelor's. Combined with nerves, I literally just could not concentrate on the tuning of anything. I couldn't hear anything. I could hear that it was out, but I couldn't hear which way. I know now that I was really, really sharp because I have given that situation a lot of thought. The panelists were grimacing. That's how bad that audition went. I came out of that audition thinking to myself, well, I bombed it. What am I gonna do with my life now? It took me a few days to sort of mourn the loss of going to that school for my master's program, because I had already previously sort of imagined my life there as a master's student, and suddenly it was no more. No one ever really tells you how to deal with that kind of feeling, but the way that I ended up doing it was just to kind of reevaluate my life and reevaluate what is really important to me, and that was why I decided to go to California. I did not go to California to do a master's initially. I went to California because I was born there. I decided that trying to find my roots in California, trying to find who I was, trying to kind of look back at the culture that I grew up in the Bay Area, I decided that finding that part of me was more important than doing a master's. Failing my first master's audition really put my life into perspective. It made me realize that I won't die if I didn't do a master's. I ended up doing one because my dad thought it would be a waste of time if I didn't at least try. So if you guys want to know how I got into San Francisco State, I'll link a video up here for you guys that talks about how not to get into music school. When something like this happens to you though, like when you come out of a failed audition, the first feeling is, wow, I spent so much time on this stuff and I still cannot do this to the level that is expected of me. Don't deny it. I do know that the one thought at the back of your mind is it worth continuing? Really, you have to answer that for yourself. That answer is going to be a little bit different for everyone. I decided that it was worth it for me because I wanted to be able to share that experience with someone in the future, to let them know that they're not alone, to let them know that this is a normal experience and that you should not be ashamed that it happened to you. If you go through life without failure, there's never a reason to ask yourself who you are. When you try again, you'll realize you have a much different perspective on it. I realized that if this school did not want me to be their student, then that was probably a good thing because I wouldn't fit them. Maybe it would also mean that I'm still not ready for a master's. You'll find that after you have failed performances or you've bombed a jury, bombed an audition, you will approach your next competitions, performances, auditions, juries in a much more pragmatic, practical viewpoint, which allows you to think a lot more clearly, stay more focused, and you are sort of connected with yourself a lot more. And being in that new mindset really helps you keep your nerves under control, and it really helps you actually express yourself musically in a high stress situation. I think I had to have failed my first master's audition in order to have gotten into my second one. There's no way I would have approached my second audition the way I did if I didn't fail the first one. And that experience has helped me so much up until now. Even my Ensign Symphony audition, I really credit the success of that to my failed master's audition. I was able to remain calm for that audition because I already knew what it felt like to fail. And when you know what it's like to fail. There's no surprises anymore. There's no what if I fail. It's more like, oh, if I fail, I'll do this instead. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you guys have similar experiences, please put it in the comment section below. I would love to read about it and we can all help each other out and encourage each other. If you guys like this video, make sure you give me a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for new videos every Saturday. My last video is over there, and if you want to catch me during the week, my social media networks are down there. But otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Bye. In case you don't know, I talk quite a lot to make one of these videos. If you guys end up seeing like a 12-minute video, I usually would have ended up talking for like 25 or 30 minutes, sometimes even 45 minutes. There is a lot of content that I have cut from these videos, but I thought today I would talk about one of the things that I have cut from a previous video. Maybe my experience can help you guys. So